Hello, everyone, and welcome back to today's Utopia LinkedIn Live. I'm Sheldon. I'm part of the creative team here at Utopia Experience, where we produce conferences and galas all over the country. But more than just running events, we're obsessed with studying them, figuring out what makes them unforgettable, what truly connects with attendees, what makes those audiences check out at a show. So today we're bringing you something a little different than what we usually do. Instead of an industry guest from outside our walls like normal, we're hosting a Utopia roundtable with three of our newest team members. They're all bringing unique frontline perspectives from sales, production, and event planning. And we'll be talking about a lot of different things, what drew them into this industry, what their specialty is within Utopia, and how they deliver incredible event experiences. So, whether you're tuning in on a work break, if you're on a treadmill walk, or just a lunch period, thank you so much for spending time with us. We're going to keep this short and focused, just 30 minutes of real, no fluff conversation. And if you're here, live, drop your questions or comments in the chat. We'd love to hear from you and address those questions whenever we get them. And kicking us off with our host here leading today's conversation is Joey Goon. He's our president here at Utopia Experience. And we are going to be joined by...
and we are Jonah Hill meme coming in.
Indeed. And our first guest from Utopia here today is Laura Hogan. She's Utopia's account executive. Laura has a background in the fine dining and events industry where she discovered a love for coordinating large-scale events. She's got a bachelor's degree in psychology and is currently earning her master's degree in industrial organizational psychology. That's a mouthful, and I'm sure it's even more in your head. But Laura, welcome so much to the live stream.
Thank you, Sheldon. It is a mouthful, but you killed it.
Well, I know we only have 30 minutes here today and a number of guests, so I'm going to let Joey take it away and get this interview started.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Joey.
Welcome to LinkedIn Live.
I'm glad to be here.
Glad to be here. Shout out to Gucci.
Shout out.
Laura, you want to start with the origin story of how we came to know each other?
Sure. I'll let you lead, Fran.
Yeah. How did you come to know? How'd you come to know Utopia? And the reason why I think this is really cool is it's a shout out to my friend Jeff Hoffman, and he said that the people that you eventually want to fill the walls of your organization that are smarter, that think more, dynamically, that bring diversity of perspective, they're already gainfully employed somewhere else, but perhaps they're not happy. And so go out there and find them. And that is that kind of manifested in how we found each other and how you ultimately found Utopia. You want to unpack that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So it all started in Hawaii, weirdly enough. And I am connected with an entrepreneur organization called EO. Joey, you're a member there. You're on the board at EO. I know that it's brought a lot of enrichment to the company of Utopia. But before I ever joined Utopia, EO was impacting my life just through my relationships. So my partner is a member of EO. My best friend is a chapter coordinator there. So I just found myself in these rooms with these EO members all the time. And I found a lot of alignment in the meaningful conversations happening in those spaces. So my friend Kaylee decided that we should both go to Hawaii when she went to the Global Leadership Convention. For me, it was a vacation. For her, it was a professional endeavor. And during that time, I was able to grab dinner with Joey and his lovely wife, Stephanie. And during that dinner, we just found so much alignment in the meaningful conversation that we were having. I was exploring these ideas of identity and professional development and who I was as a leader and what I wanted to do. And I just found that Joey and Stephanie leaned into that conversation so authentically. And it developed a curiosity in me for Utopia and what they were doing. So that's where it all began.
Yeah, the dinner turned into a job offer. And so I'm so grateful that you're here. How
Likewise.
you do bring background in the hospitality space, and you do have professional experience in events. How do you think Utopia, like beyond the emotional resonance that you felt with Stephanie and I, if we go more into like the tactical, the way that, to your point, you say we lead with love and deliver with excellence. How do we do those things? How do you feel like Utopia is approaching events in an innovative way?
Mhm. Great question. So I learned early on in my experience in hospitality that I am wired for a deep love for invention and for execution. I love both of those things. I love being on the creative side. I love the visionary aspect of what strategically can we do to make the most impact on the most people in the biggest way. And I also love the detailed execution of making sure that we do it with excellence. So that's turned into this tagline. If you know me, I say that a lot. We lead with the heart, we execute with excellence. Both are important and they come together really, really well in the events industry. When I met the Utopia team, I found that each individual that I interacted with had such a genuine love and appreciation for the people that they were partnering with, whether it be clients, other vendors, contractors that they were working with, their coworkers. I found that they were just very authentic with each other, but they also were working really hard to self develop and upskill their expertise in their own right. So I think that Utopia does a great job of being cutting edge when it comes to the equipment and the technology that we're using. But more than anything, we never lose the heart and the genuine authenticity and appreciation for the individuals that we're partnering with, which makes us very collaborative. And you don't always see that in the industry.
Yeah. Yeah, I resonate with that very deeply. Speaking of collaboration, I know that a big part of your role is building relationships with prospective clients, with our current clients. What are some of the conversations that you're having right now with planners and organizers that you think might be relevant to the LinkedIn audience that's watching today?
Mhm. I think first and foremost, people are looking to stretch their impact beyond the event itself. So they are looking to create a really meaningful experience for attendees within their industry, the topic at hand, all of those good things. But they're also trying to think of ways of how can we capture this content and then creatively use it in a way to continue to drive impact and draw even more people into the conversation that we are having at this event. So I find that that tends to be a consistent theme in the conversations that I'm having, and something where event planners and coordinators are trying to think like good marketing agents as well.
Mm. Can you think of a specific example there? I mean, I have a
Sure.
bunch that come to mind, but I'm just curious if there's one that really resonates with you because it's so impressive how much knowledge you've been able to retain, citing like proof of concept and different case studies and success stories we've had with clients. And I just wonder if there's one in particular that comes to mind to underscore that
Mhm.
point you just made.
Absolutely. Yeah, the one that comes to mind first is our beloved partners at Nosker. Um, they do large scale events for a very specific attendee base, right? Um, and they're always looking for ways to show their attendees what they are doing to invest in them at the next event. So, as we know, it can be difficult to get those members to register for that next event. And that's an important thing that drives these organizations. And so, something that they brought to us was, hey, how can we not only market the location of our next event, but how can we market the actual content and energy and connection that's happening at this current event and bring it into the marketing for that upcoming event? I think that our team did an excellent job of doing that. Of course, it's exciting to go to a fun location for that event, but that's not why those attendees are there. They are there to build relationships, drive fellowship, and drive learning for themselves. And if they can see evidence of that in past events where other people have found that, that's what's going to bring value and drive those registration numbers.
It's so good. So good. What are you what are you listening for in discovery calls with our event clients right now? Like what are the things that you're listening for that you think are maybe the themes around the conversations that you're having? You mentioned earlier that people want to stretch the impact. Is there anything else that's coming up for you?
I'm listening for emotion more than anything. And I know that sounds abstract, and it is a little bit, which is part of my job is to sort of reduce that into what the actual pain point is for that potential client. Um, but what I listen for is this one thing that is highly technical and matters so much to this event, takes up all of my time, and then I also have to do my normal job. I resonate with that so deeply. Like coming from the events industry, coming from hospitality. I was a full-time student when I worked in the hospitality industry as well. So I get what it feels like to spend a whole lot of time on something when you know that you could outsource it to someone who does that every day and does it well. And it's probably going to have the brain space to bring more creative ideas to the table and make it even better. So I'm listening for those things where people say, I wish this was off my plate. I wish I had someone that I trusted. I
Right.
wish that I had someone that I could talk to like a real person and not just someone who's going to shoot me a contract and hope for the best and show up on event day, right? So I'm looking for those pain points and those opportunities to collaborate as a consultative partner, not just as someone who's going to deliver the right equipment at the right time.
For sure. Last question for you, Laura. How do you see the industry changing or evolving?
Great question. I think AI is a big topic of conversation for every industry right now. No one is surprised when it gets brought up. We're seeing a lot of events just around AI as we explore its application and integration into different industries. What I think people are craving most, current state, is authentic human interaction. And that does not come as a surprise to any of us. We're like, yeah, of course, we want to have like a normal conversation. We want to be able to be real, but truly, we want to be real. So I think what's changing in the events industry is creating space for those authentic, real human conversations. For instance, that might manifest as a focus on elevating those breakout sessions, those roundtable discussions where people can sit eye to eye and actually talk to another person who's experiencing the same thing as them in the same space. And not have those barriers of maybe like a video call or the internet goes out and now I can't hear you and you talking. I think that that's what's going to change the most.
Yeah, that's so good. I was listening to a podcast earlier with Nicola Kastner. Shout out to her. And she was talking about when she was the head of events for SAP. She totally flipped the script for their Sapphire event. And she talked about we are in a curation economy, not a content economy. We have to look
Mm,
at the customer and the attendee at the center of the experience and create a transformational journey. And so instead of doing a one-way passive lecture from the stage over the course of 1.5 to 2.5 days, they did smaller breakouts and workshops and these transformational, opportunities for people to, if we talk about psychological safety happens at speed and scale when we're in more tight knit environments, opposed to in a room of 20,000 people, which is what SAP Sapphire. That's that's the number of attendees they pull into these experiences. And so these curated spaces where people could go not wide but deep is so important. So I love that you brought that up in the conversation, and I think that that should be a part of everybody's approach. Is not going down every aisle at the grocery store, but going down that one aisle, knowing that that aisle is going to be curated specifically for you and why you showed up there.
mm, that's beautiful. Thank you, Joey.
Yeah. And I
Thank you,
agree
Laura.
completely, Joey. Laura, we are so happy to have you on our stream today, but also
Laura, you
here
slay.
at Utopia, where you're approaching things with a lot of tact and a lot of thought, and we all very much appreciate that. And before I let you go, we ask one thing of all of our guests. We're voracious readers here at Utopia, and so what is a book that's on your to read list? What is a book that you are excited to
Ooh.
read in the near future?
Mm, that's an amazing question. I have a running book list because I am also a voracious reader, so it makes me a great fit for the Utopia team. Um, Unreasonable Hospitality, currently listening to. Big fan of Will Gadira, shout out. Um, that's so funny you bring that up, Joey, because I think I told you this, but I knew about Unreasonable Hospitality far before I engaged with reading the actual book. It has made such an impact on
Wow.
the industry. So, anyways, the book that I'm currently the most excited to read is called The Creative Act. It is by Rick Rubin, and
Oh.
it basically explores the artist journey and how we can all tap into that journey in our own right. So essentially, the idea that creativity does not have to be completely reduced to just producing an art piece, it could actually be engaged with in our daily lives.
Hmm.
That's excellent. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I think we'll have to check out, and maybe we'll have you come back on and give us a little book report in the future.
Will do.
Dude, Rick Rubin is a badass. I absolutely like his visual, his aesthetic is incredible. Like I just looked him up on LinkedIn, and the first thing that pops up is he was on Lewis Howe's podcast. I
Mm,
can't wait to go and listen to that podcast.
right? Amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, Laura, again, thank you again for joining us today, and thank you for everything you do here at Utopia. And
Thank
we'll
you,
see you around
Sheldon.
the office.
Sounds good.
All right. And our next guest, we're moving right along. This is somebody who has also joined the team, a production specialist, Ben Selsor. He is a recent graduate of Southern Illinois University, Carbondale, where he cultivated skills in a number of audio and video production clubs. He even produced a segment for the Emmy Award winning PBS show, Alt News 2646. And Ben, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Yes. Major
Hello.
applause for Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
Oh, my webcam's not as high quality as yours are.
We could fix that. We know people in at the office that might be able to supply you a camera.
Noted. Hello. How are you guys today?
We're doing great. I'm going to be here monitoring everything. I'm going to hop back into the green room and let Joey take it away. I'm sure he's got a list of questions for you.
Yeah,
awesome.
Ben.
Awesome.
Ben, thanks
Hi,
for
Joey.
being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes. Should we start by getting super emotional and sharing with the world what you shared in the No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but we are as grateful to have you as you are to have us. And so I just wanted to start with that and lead with love. Hey, Ben, share with us like what interested you specifically in technical elements like sound and video?
Right. So originally, whenever I started college, I wasn't going into production at all. I was actually originally declared as a theater performance major because I wanted to do acting. And before I even signed up for classes, I was having a conversation about it with my dad. And we were both like, yeah, maybe not the most stable field to go into. So I looked over the majors, and radio, TV, and digital media caught my eye. And I was like, well, I could learn some skills there. I think that it could be applicable to both sides. So I started doing that. And originally, my specialization was only declared as video production. And for the first 2 years of college, that's all I did was video production. And it wasn't too exciting. So I added audio to my specialization and I took my first class with audio my junior year. And something about it just like absolutely grabbed my brain and held on. There was something that was so interesting about it, something that made me feel like I was so much more capable than I was in anything else that I had tried before. And that allowed me to like step into various other facets of production and apply those skills to live production and post-production and whatnot. And I think it allowed me to sort of expand my vision of what I was able to do and made me like the other things more as a result, because there was this one thing that I knew I was good at. So I was able to branch out a bit more.
Yeah, I love that. Like really leaning into your superpower is something that has been something that's been really transformational for me in realizing that you can't know all of the things, but if you know these one or two, like I love the idea or the thought of trying to go as wide as possible, but you know, I also think it's really important to go deep and master something. Like Tony Robbins says, 10,000 hours to mastery. And when you master something, other people look at you and they're like, that's really impressive. Your superpower, your success then becomes someone else's miracle, and you get to share that miracle with the world. And we're grateful you get to bring that miracle to our team and to our clients. Let's talk a little bit about that miracle, because you are absolutely brilliant at events. What are some of the things behind the scenes that you and Ro on our tech team are doing that you think are interesting for maybe we could just more generally unpack the things that are happening behind the scenes so that, you know, clients, prospective clients, event organizers that are listening to this have an idea of what is actually happening on the show floor as you're setting up and running the show.
For sure. Yeah, we are constantly doing so much behind the scenes. I was in a meeting with Ro earlier today, working on the planning stages of one of our future events that we have coming up. But there is so much that goes into it. Like once we learn the space itself, and once we have like some sort of visualization of it, even if we haven't been on a site visit yet, if we just know the size of the room, then we can start working out placement of all of our equipment. And that leads into what equipment do we need? How much distance do we need to cover for wire runs? Or if we're doing a camera, how far away is the camera riser going to be from the stage, and how is that going to affect like the sightline of the camera at all? There's so much that we have to take into consideration, that it's just like every question that gets answered, we then have to answer like 5 more questions on top of that because we answered the first one. In terms of what I do specifically, I've been helping mainly with building the diagrams themselves. So together we're working on figuring out the equipment needs for the space, and then I'm taking those needs and translating it into a diagram that we are able to read later and that we can show to others to say like, this is the placement of everything that we're doing, and here are the wire runs and whatnot that we need to cover. So it's a lot of very nitty gritty technical stuff that we have to focus on right now.
What when it comes to Utopia's production capabilities, you know, how we're bringing LED walls and instead of projectors, and how, you know, we're talking about continuing to innovate and up level our technology and bring that into, you know, into the market and really into our portfolio of clients. What excites you the most about where this industry, and maybe more specifically where Utopia, is headed?
What excited me the most initially was whenever I started, I hardly knew what an LED wall was whenever I started. In fact, like that first event, my first week was the first time I had ever like seen how they actually go together. And like before, I was just like, wow, that's a really big screen, and I didn't realize it was actually several smaller screens put together. It's the industry that we are in, especially on the tech side of things. It's always exciting. There's always new stuff being made. Like everything's always getting better and better. Like with what we do with LED walls, we've been working on testing various panels from other companies so that we could maybe start expanding the capacity for what we can do, like the size of the wall that we can do. We have a diagram drawn up of a 90-foot wide LED wall that's super cool and has breaks in the middle to make it look like speakers are literally like walking out of the screen onto the stage.
Cool.
Yeah, it's such a cool visual element that I think a lot of people don't necessarily recognize, especially if you're like working with something like projectors, where you really can't accomplish quite the same level of like detail and magnitude at that scale. It's really exciting to work on these plans so that we can keep going bigger and bigger, and making these events more and more spectacular with what we're able to do with these plans.
Yeah, and if you're watching and you want to see the plan, just comment, and we'll shoot you a rendering of that LED wall that Ben just alluded to. It's super impressive. It's super impressive. Ben, when it comes to, last question for Ben, when it comes to things on site, what do you think that people that are producing events need to be mindful of or should be aware of from a technical production point of view? Maybe just drop a knowledge bomb.
Yeah, there's so much to be aware of. I'm trying to think of like what the most essential thing is. I think it would just be to you can never, I say this a lot, you can never plan to not fail. If you plan to not fail, that's when you will fail, and that's when things will go horribly wrong. So you have to plan for if it does happen. You have to be ready for, like, if you have, like what we do, we have 2 fly packs, one that sits at the front of the house and one that sits at the back of the house, and we have a extremely long wire run to cover there with a lot of our spaces. So you have to, if you're doing a similar setup, you have to be ready for that cable to not work for no explicable reason. You just have to be ready for something to go wrong, so that whenever, if it does happen, you are always ready with the solution. Not planning ahead is planning to fail.
That's such a great point. And it was obviously demonstrated in the event that we just recently did, the national conference. When I walked, we were setting out all those cables, and there were 3 extra SDIs in that cable loom. And I was like, well, what's this one for? And you're like, that's the contingency plan. And like, what are these other two? Those are the contingency plans. And so planning for the point of failure to be there is smart planning, or just planning for any point of failure is smart planning, because you're thinking about the contingency plan so proactively. So we really appreciate that. And, you know, as an organization, and just having you on the show just brings the team that much more confidence. So thank you for all of that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
want it to
Ben,
always
you do
go
so
well.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, underlining what you said before too, like all of this production, all these planning for redundancies, it starts way at the beginning, even before sometimes you've even been on site. You guys are planning out, like building CAD maps of the show floor, planning out everything to a T months in advance. It takes a lot of very careful thought to make sure all of that cool tech, like you mentioned, works. So again, yeah, Ben, thank you for joining today. Thank you for being a part of the
you for having
Utopia
me.
team.
We love you, Ben.
Yeah, of course. Love you too. Thank you.
All right. We are moving on to our third and final guest of the day. It's going so fast, but this is incredible. We have Utopia's event coordinator, Abby Sloan. Now, Abby is an event planner known for exceptional work in the luxury event industry. She's got an eye for creative event design. She's crafted stunning weddings and galas, blending some elegance with innovation to create unforgettable experiences for important causes. Abby, we are so excited to have you join us today.
Hi, you guys.
That was the wrong button on the Roadcaster.
Yeah,
Hey,
I heard
I love
laughter happening.
I love it.
There it is. Yeah, Abby, you need a theme song like that.
I
every
like
single
the
time you
theme
enter
song.
the
I
room.
think it fits.
It does
All
fit.
right.
It fits with your energy. Your energy is just so magnetic.
Oh, thanks so much.
And I think that theme song's also my exit music. So I'm going to get out of here and let you dive into it.
Sheldon, we'll be right here front of house if you need us.
Don't you leave.
You just let us know. Abby.
Hi, Joey.
Hey, it's good to have you on the LinkedIn Live.
I'm so glad to be here.
Glad to be here. Gucci.
Gucci always comes back. Full
What
circle.
made you want to work in events, Abby?
What called me to work in events? So I was the little kid on the playground creating fake events and scenarios and forcing all of the other children on the playground to join me. When I got to high
Yeah, you
school,
are.
started planning pep club events, started planning proms, and I actually had a high school counselor who came to me and she was like, "You could have a long-term career in events. I think you'd be great for it." And the rest is history.
That's so awesome. That is so awesome. What drew you to Utopia?
Utopia really found me. I was actually living in the Virginia, D.C. area, working on weddings and events, and wanted to move closer to home, come back to Missouri. And I stumbled across Utopia Experience, applied for a job, and the next day, Joey's wife, Stephanie, reached out and was like, "Hey, you have a great energy. I would love to speak more." And I actually fell in love with Stephanie. Sorry, Joey, first, prior to falling in love with Utopia.
It happens all the
Had
time.
had a call with Jordy and Lachlan and just absolutely fell in love with everything that the company stood for. We were so aligned, and it just was a match made in heaven.
I'm not surprised by that because she's way cooler than me.
She's so cool.
As are Lachlan and Jordy.
They're the coolest.
They're pretty fantastic. I by the way, every Thursday night, Steph and I have a standing dinner reservation because that's really important to us, especially now with a kid, is, you know, with Sage, our little biscuit, having a 2.5-year-old at home, to really continue to love on each other and invest in that relationship. So OG Grandpa comes over every Thursday. So I'm just giving a plug to Steph because I'm sure she's watching, and I can't wait to spend time with her, because Abby, to your point, she's very lovable.
She's the greatest.
She is the greatest. I love spending time with her. She's so fantastic. Hey, before we went live, we talked about a particular story, and Steph says, "He love you, Abby." Jordy says, "Who doesn't fall in love with Steph?" So true. So true. All right. We talked about a particular story where you and Jordy saved a client $100,000 in fees at a hotel, and you saved a client roughly $40,000 to $50,000 in internet fees and a contract in a hotel. Can you maybe unpack that a little bit further? And of course, we won't divulge any of the names of the different hotels or the venues or the client names, but let's unpack this situation, because I think it's important for those people out there that are negotiating with hotels and venues to know the right questions to ask.
Yeah. I think it's something that really gives the Utopia event planners an edge. Is we're in the industry, we know you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know what questions to ask, you would never know it's there. So when reviewing a contract with my boss, Jordy, shout out Jordy, we noticed that there was $100,000 fee, but there was nothing attached to it. There was no description of what was included in that fee. So we brought this back to the client and we said, hey, we noticed this $100,000 fee. Do you know what this is for? The client had no idea. Whenever you're working with hotels and AV vendors, sometimes you just see $100,000 bill and assume, oh, it's just included in the hotel fee, or it's, it has to be for some lights. I won't ask. I don't want to ask. That is something that I feel like we are really powerful in, is we're not scared to ask. We're not scared to go back to the venue and say, hey, what is this $100,000 charge for? Can you help us explain that? Can we really unpack what is involved in this? And once we took it back to the venue said, oh, we don't really know what this charge is for. We'll fix that for you. So I think it's something that really shows the Utopia experience is we are willing to go to bat and ask those questions because we have the AV industry knowledge as well as the event knowledge.
There were two particular scenarios that came to mind for me. There was one where the in-house production company had like $170,000. And of course, what we do is objectively, we are a production company, but we objectively always get 3 bids, with ourself being one of those bids, because we want to advocate and whatever's going to be in the best interest of the client. And we want to evaluate all the potential options. And sometimes we find that the best option for our client is working with a local production provider. And other times, it's working with us and having our team out there because they value the, keeping everything in one core team, and they trust and respect our team to be able to deliver their vision. In this particular case, there were 3 different providers, one of which being the in-house audiovisual team. And when you and Jordy went back to negotiate, and you were like, by the way, we have an entire AV department. We know this, and this doesn't actually cost you this much. Mm-hmm. What can you do for us? In the middle of the night, they dropped their price $70-something thousand. And there was another example where the in-house provider was trying to charge our client something to the tune of $50,000 to $60,000 for dedicated internet. And when you and Jordy were like, hey, we're going to bring in our own ISP, our own internet service provider, unless you do something like that, the internet went from 50,000 down to 10,000.
Yeah.
So it's knowing how to ask and coming at it from the lens of an industry expert in the way that you and Jordy do, from my perspective, from a 10,000 foot view, bird's eye view looking down, what I think makes you guys so brilliant at what you do.
Thank you. I agree. I think it's something that all event planners should be aware of, is you should never be scared to ask those questions. If you see a charge, you have to advocate for your client. You have to know at the end of the day, you're a part of that team and you have the industry knowledge. So never be scared to speak up and say, hey, I don't understand what this charge is. Help me explain. And you'd be surprised the amount of money you can save your clients.
Jordy says, yeah, there it is. It popped up on the screen. You're about to Nancy Drew and get to the bottom of it. You've got some Judge Judy in you. That was that came out last week when we did a national sales conference for an organization. On the venue contract, they were contracted Thursday for setup day. Mm-hmm. And our entire team, their entire team showed up Thursday. And what happened?
Well, wouldn't you believe, we get to the venue on Thursday and the venue had forgotten to tell us that there was an additional event going on in the space we were supposed to set up in. But it is truly a testament to our team how quickly, once we got on site and realized what was going on, we were able to pivot. There was never an ounce of anger, never an ounce of stress from our team. We immediately pivoted and said, you know what? This is the situation we have. This is how we're going to fix it. We went to the client, addressed exactly what needed to be done. They were unbelievably sweet about it, unbelievably understanding, and we were able to have an absolutely flawless event.
You guys even went as far as delivering coffees for the entire team, just to make sure that you kept the positive vibes in the room. And I think that's a testament to when we're on site, inevitably stuff is going to go wrong. It's all about how you process and handle emotions in the face of adversity that will ultimately determine how successful you are in life as a human being. And the way that y'all navigated that so brilliantly and gracefully is just awesome.
Yeah, the way we react is exactly how our clients react. So I think it's always important as an event planner, as an AV service, to realize you have to remain calm to keep your clients calm. The good energy you bring is what they have. So
what is something that you think planners should be asking their production partners early on?
something that I think is invaluable is how does that production partner react in a crisis? So in the world of AV, things go wrong. The internet at the hotel goes out. Your client's laptop stops working. But the difference between a regular AV company and an excellent AV company is how they react to that. So if they immediately panic, pause, and don't know what to do, versus if they go in, jump right in, find a solution, have that backup plan without any of the clients, any of the attendees even noticing, that is the biggest difference in a successful AV partner.
What have we not talked about that you think we should talk about? There's like 30 questions in front of me, and I know Sheldon's going to jump on. Sheldon, I appreciate how much time and effort you put into these run of shows.
Shout out to
You're
Sheldon.
amazing. Yeah, shout out to Sheldon back there in the back of house. What else do you want to unpack here, Abby?
Really, the world's kind of our oyster. I think something that's really important to me to talk about is how I handle really dealing with clients and their expectations. I think my job as an event planner is to be a champion for my client, but still being the anchor to what's possible. So something that I think is really important, and this is a hot take. As an event planner, I don't say no. If there is something that a client brings to me and I don't think it's going to work, I don't think the venue will allow it, something like that, I don't say no, I ask why. I want to understand why they want it and what the reasoning is behind it, because I'm a part of my client's team. It is my job to be their anchor, be their champion. So if I come in and I see a solution, I offer that. I'm like, hey, what if instead of doing this, we alternated and did this? You never want to tell your clients no with no explanation. You have to give a solution.
That's so powerful. Finger snaps. Here's one more tip. If you're planning an event out there, the thing that you want to get no from, just negotiation psychology 101, put a list of 20 questions together for your venue or your hotel and put the 10 questions you know they're going to say no to first. Get on the phone with them, ask them those 10 questions. And then the things that you actually want them to say yes to, you package in the bottom, 9 or 10 questions, because psychologically, the more things they say no to, the more they're going to feel a need to concede in some areas to keep you happy as the client. So just a little psychology hack there as you're negotiating with a hotel. And you want to get, then you want to continue to get the best deal as you're advocating for your clients or for yourself for the conference you're producing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Abby, again, thank you for coming on and thank you for underlining. I think a lot of the stuff here today is just showcasing how much preparation goes into everything and how you can only be flexible if you're planning for all of these alternate things, knowing what might go wrong and planning otherwise. That's how our team is able to stay personable. And even like you mentioned last week, we had a tricky situation, but because the team knew what to do, we knew we were in good hands. You were handling it. We were able to get set up and the show went by swimmingly in a situation that could have been much, much more difficult. And final question for you, and then I'm also going to bring back Ben because I forgot to ask Ben, but I want to know, what book are you most interested in reading? Is there a book that's on your to-read list that you want to crack into?
Oh, that's such a good question, Sheldon. There are a lot of books on my to-read list, but I think my next one would probably be The Power of Moments by, I believe, Chip and Dan Heath. And they are experts in psychology as well as events. And they kind of show you how to use people's emotions, people's feelings, the things that matter to really make an impactful moment at events. Don't just have your event guests come in, sit through an event, oh, yay, boring, and then leave. You want to have them come in and feel a moment that they're like, wow, my life is forever changed by the event I just attended. So I've gotten it, haven't started reading it. We'll give a review.
Sheldon,
excellent.
Abby has a new role at Utopia.
Oh, what's this?
To be our LinkedIn Live moderator. She's got to come in for more guest interviews because Abby,
I was going to say,
I'm getting promotions, you guys. Remember this. Everyone remember this, you guys.
Yeah, and all these comments, once you started talking, everybody was jumping in the comments. Yeah, we got to get you on more.
My favorite, and Laura just put this in the chat, a champion for my client, but an anchor to what's possible. I don't say no, I ask why. Abby, come on. I have chills. That's so good. It's so good.
So good. Yeah, let's bring back everyone else here. All right, Ben's coming back. Laura's coming back.
Hello.
Welcome,
Hey,
everyone.
guys.
And Ben, yeah, to you. I'm so sorry that I forgot, but is there a book that's on your reading list that you're excited about?
Well, I was at first I was almost glad you forgot because I wasn't able to think of anything in the moment. Um, I've done some research off camera since, and I found,
It's so good.
yeah, I found this book that I saw the title and it immediately interested me. It's called "How to Think Like Socrates: Ancient Philosophy as a Way of Life in the Modern World" by Donald J. Robertson. I'm super into
Okay.
philosophy in general.
Yeah.
Socrates famously rejected material possessions and was very like convicted in his beliefs to the point that it got him executed in ancient Athens. So I'm interested to know how his wisdom could be applied to living in the 21st century.
That's very cool.
That's
I like
brilliant.
that.
Laura, okay, so Laura mentioned earlier where she thinks the industry is headed is AI. Here, one of my friends just texted me and said they attended an AI summit a few weeks ago where Socrates kicked off the event and did a keynote. How
That's
sick
wild.
is that?
Man.
That's wild.
Necromancy in the year
No,
2025.
that's a good use of AI.
Yeah.
I don't know how Socrates would feel about that.
We'll have to read the book to
But
find out.
however he felt, he would let you know.
Yeah, and I'm sure he did on that stage.
Oh, well, everyone, thank you all so much for joining us. I feel like we got some great insights, and hopefully we'll be able to have you guys on again. But if not, if you're out there watching and you're catching up later and have questions for Abby, Ben, or Laura, if you have questions about Utopia Experience, want to join the team, or need us to produce an event, please reach out to us. Hit us up on any of the social pages you're watching, or check us out on our website in the link below. And until next time, thank you, and we'll see you at the next LinkedIn Live.
Thank you.
Oh, we crushed this. Good job.